And Teresa gets to a rung Versailles, and then, of course, he won the ring title from Estrada, Juan Francisco Estrada. But those guys, they're not those three, they were not in their prime. And I know Sonny Edwards was in his prime, but Sonny Edwards didn't have power as a flyweight. I mean, as a 112 pound. So I want to see him in with a big junior bantamweight, like a truly world-class guy who's proven himself, because you don't beat Ioka unless you're truly like elite level. So I want to see him against a fellow elite 115 pounder, and if he beats him, then I'm going to see Nakatani. Then go up in weight.
He's knocking on the door.
I mean, in a pound for pound sense, they're both in the pound for pound. They're both tremendous. They're both undefeated for a reason. Yeah, they're both multi-division champions. Nakatani seems like he might be too big. I mean, I feel like Nakatani can move up to 122 right now. But I'm glad that, Nakatani, he's not going to move up to 122 until he unifies the belt at least once or twice.
He said he wants the brother first.
Yeah, that's still
sense.
a big fight. Yeah.
Those that don't know about the little guys in boxing.
Yeah, they never fail us. I love Man Rodriguez. And I remember him, I met him when he was still an amateur. Man, good to see you. Yeah. He was still an amateur, but he had been signed while he was 16. Yeah, he had been signed by Taken, and I was in San Antonio, and he was with his brother, and I think Marlene Esparza was fighting or whatever, but I remember there was I had the ring belt with me. And I let him hold. I took a picture of him and his brother, and I said, they told, man, you're going to be, hopefully you'll be right here in San Antonio, but one day you're going to be fighting. You guys are going to share a card. It's going to be a big deal, and it's only a matter of time until you fight for the Ring Magazine Championship. His talent was that talked about in boxing circles, because Mr. Honda with Taken, they don't sign just anybody, especially if you're not Japanese. So the fact that they took a look at him as an amateur and said, yeah, we signed this dude, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So I'm not shocked he's excelled as he has, but I'm glad he's out there, and I'm glad Junto Nakatani is out there. I'm glad they've gotten the exposure that they've gotten, because you always got to have like the sub featherweights, in boxing.
Switching gears a little bit. Sorry about it. Yeah. Switching gears a little bit. What was your thoughts on the whole Tank fight a few days ago? Was it a knockdown?
I thought it was.
Not?
Oh no, it was definitely should have been a knockdown. It should have been a knockdown, and I thought that Tank was flirting with disqualification by not just sticking his head through the ropes. It's bad. You never turn your back. Don't turn your back to the fighter. Don't turn your back to the referee, because that can be read as capitulation, and some refs will just wave it off. But he ran to the corner, and he stuck his head out, and he called his corner man up to wipe something, and you're not supposed to do that. The corner people don't touch the fighter unless it's between the rounds. They got 1 minute to do that. You got 1 minute to wipe their eye. You got 1 minute to give them water, to rinse off the mouthpiece, to apply cold press to any swelling, obviously to attend to cuts. You don't do it during the fight. You can't call timeout in boxing.
Do you think it's going to reverse?
I don't.
Is that a commission? No?
I think the commission has the authority to do it. I think they have a case. I think it's the right thing to do for the sport of boxing. But it doesn't fall in line with the business of boxing.
Exactly.
And I feel like the business of boxing always comes before the sport. And when you talk about Tank Davis, you talk about business, because he moves the needle. He puts butts in the seats. He is a true A-side. And there's not a lot of that among the American fighters on the U.S. scene. We don't have bona fide attractions. One of them was on stage today with Ryan Garcia. They are few and far between. And Oscar said, the sport needs Ryan Garcia, and the sport needs Tank Davis as well.
Absolutely.
So what will happen is the WBA will call for an immediate rematch. That way everybody gets paid. The WBA gets paid, Tank gets paid. Hopefully Lamont Roach makes more money.
Yeah,
Makes a bigger purse.
He deserves it.
And he shows up, because there are people who were saying that Tank wasn't himself. He didn't look right. I don't know about that. I thought Tank looked like he was Yeah, I don't think he was that up for the fight, but he knows this guy. He knows it was not going to be an easy fight. They know each other as they fought twice as amateurs. Tank won, but they were both very close.
Lamont said he was 14, 15 years old at the time. I interviewed him.
They were young. I mean, a lot has changed since then, but you know, Tank should have known it was not going to be an easy fight, and I thought he was putting his punches together well, starting in the third round. I mean, both were very cautious in the opening 2 rounds, a lot of feeling out. But I thought Tank was showing his speed and his accuracy and his punch selection, and he was tapping the body pretty well. And I thought he was maybe putting Lamont into a shell. And in fact, I was rooting for. I didn't score the fight. I go back with Lamont. I may have told you guys or somebody else that interviewed me that I started covering him when he was like 5-6-0, fighting 4-rounders and 6-rounders, and so I got to know him a little bit. And he's got a good head on his shoulder. I like his dad. You know, there's a lot of crazy boxing dads. His dad is great. His dad he does it right. You know, so I like Lamont Roach Sr., Lamont Roach Jr., and nothing against Tank. I like Tank. I'm just familiar with Lamont. And I was rooting for him. He's the underdog. I'm rooting for him. So when I'm doing that, when I am actively rooting for somebody, I don't score the fight because I know if the round is close, I'm going to lean towards my guy. So I wasn't scoring it, but I was thinking Lamont ain't doing enough. The first 6 rounds, and then starting the 7th round, I was like, all right. But he answered Tank because Tank tried to put it on
punch
him.
For punch.
And then he stayed in the pocket with him, and he started going to the body. And I think that was a turning point. And then he started finding a home for the hook and the counter right hand and just the lead right hand.
Times.
Yeah, it was well timed, and there was something behind it too. He's not known as a puncher, but I think, especially at lightweight, he might be stronger at lightweight. He gets respect on his shots. That's all you need. That's all you need in boxing.
How do you see the rematch going?
I think it's going to be a similar fight. I think Tank's going to come in more focused, but I think Lamont's going to be even more motivated, and he's going to have more confidence. And he already had confidence.
Does he win?
I could see him winning. Yeah, I might pick him as a matter of fact, because Tank had a lot of amateur fights. He's made a lot of money. He's been through a lot. And he's already talking about retirement. When you start talking about retirement, then you have one foot out the door.
I see that all the time.
All the time.
Tank post-fight, he talked about obviously retirement, but like this draw kind of re-sparked or ignited
Maybe
something
it
in
did.
him where he said he wants 4 more fights, max 4 more
Right,
fights.
right.
Obviously, consider Lamont rematch. What are the 3 fights?
I
that
want
you
to
see?
believe it. I want to see him fight more often. It's no good that he's fighting once a year. We don't need that. I mean, it's too much. Especially, we need the attractions to fight a lot. That's when boxing's super healthy. I would like to see Tank, obviously, the rematch with Lamont Roach. I would like to see him fight Shakur Stevenson. I'd love to see him in against Zepeda, William Zepeda. That's a good fight. Do I want to see the rematch with Pitbull? Yeah, maybe. That would be a big fight.
No Jake Paul?
I think no. I don't want to see Jake Paul. I feel like if Tank fought Pitbull, a rematch with Pitbull in LA or Vegas, it would fill out a big arena. I think they could do the Crypto.com arena in LA. They can do T-Mobile arena in Las Vegas, and it'll be a lot of Mexican fans. But Tank brings out fans. That's the good thing about Tank is that hardcore fans come out for him, and African American fans, and like a lot of especially African American athletes, sports stars from other sports. They ride for him. That Tank's their guy, and influencers and all that. So it's a good mix. You got just like your diehard Mexican fans pulling for Pitbull, and then you got the glitterati, and you got you got the glitterati, you got the superstars, whatever, Shaquille O'Neal, whoever, like pulling for Tank, so that's a good thing. But Shakur Stevenson, I think Tank versus Shakur. Now Tank has to redeem himself. Tank has to decisively beat Lamont Roach. If he beats Lamont Roach decisively, I will consider Shakur Stevenson and Gervonta Davis as the top 2 lightweights. And that's the best. I think that potentially is the best matchup between 2 Americans. that can be made.
Who's your pick on that fight?
I like Shakur Stevenson in that one. Yeah, especially after this Roach fight. I'm like, oh yeah.
He just fought back to back. He fought in Riyadh. He had hand injuries.
By the way, Shakur was calling it. Shakur was calling that matchup a 50-50 fight from months ago. It's like, that's a hard fight for Tank. So he saw something. He knows something.
Well, Shakur said that if Lamont doesn't get a chance to get the rematch, then he'd be willing to face Lamont and give him a shot. So
and that would be great. That would be a nice thing for him to do for Lamont. That would be a purely tactical fight. That would be for the purists, but I would tune in, obviously.
Absolutely. Doug.
Thank you, Doug.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much.